Hey, it's Lisa, and I am here for 2023's final episode of Real Money. I'm going to use this time on the episode today to do a reflection of me. I know as a listener, you've spent a lot of time getting to know my guests this year. And every now and then this year, I've shared a little bit about myself. What I thought I'd do this year is share full out vulnerability, what my year has been like financially and otherwise. And as a listener, I'm going to then close out this show talking about what I hope for you and for this show and all the things that we are going to create together in 2024. So let's get to it. As I reflect on my journey, it's the end of the year in 2023. I started this journey in the financial industry in 2013, and in 2014 joined a firm, got my licenses, and I was off to the races to learn so much that I didn't know about the financial industry. Looking back 10 years ago, if you would have told me this is where I would be today, I probably would have thought, no way. There's no way it would happen. Even though the glimmer was there and the desire was there, I would have had no idea how I was going to get here. And here I am talking to you. I am so grateful for you as an audience, whether you're listening as the podcast version or you've been watching on YouTube. Thank you for being here 1,000 times over, because the conversations that are coming back to me about what you're learning and how you're gleaning from these different episodes means everything to me. And ultimately, that's what we're here for. When I started in the finance industry, I was so naive. I was so green. I had no idea what it was going to take to run a business. And I have learned some really hard lessons as a business owner, as a podcaster over the course of my career. One of the biggest lessons that I learned this year specifically was about my own value and my own worth. It's hard to quantify what that actually has meant for me over the last 10 years in business. But what I can tell you is, having gone through my NLP certifications, which I did a show about, and I have a long form video about here on YouTube, is that it has taken me this year to the depths of myself to understand how my own limiting beliefs about myself have been holding me back, and how they've created some not so desirable financial results. And ultimately, everything that I have today in this moment are also because of other beliefs that I've had. But the darker part of me this year that I was able to peel back and uncover was that, for so many reasons, I had a huge unworthy conversation. And in my NLP journey, I was required to go back into my childhood and look at things that happened in my imprinting years, which are things that I talk about on the show and with my clients also. And it started at a very young age for me. At the age of 3, I was molested. And at the age of 5, my mom, for the first time, put me on the news. And through those two experiences, I created patterns in those imprinting years for me that I felt like, now, whether this is true or not, this is my interpretation of these different parts of my story in life. But it was my interpretation of those experiences from a young age that I believed that I was going to be used, manipulated, and exploited. Did my mom mean to use me? Absolutely not. No, not ever. But by being on the news at age 5 and then again at age 12, and being recognized for and celebrated for being out in the public, speaking publicly, all throughout my high school years, student body president, freshman class president, sophomore class president, junior class president, my value and sense of worth was wrapped up what I could do for other people. And for so many years, I was not living authentically because of those limiting beliefs. I'm a very vulnerable person. And from my very first show here on Real Money, I share vulnerable, open stories because I want you to know, and anyone listening or following me to know, that they're not alone. Through my personal journeys and discoveries, I try to share what I think is relevant so that you also know that as an expert, as a coach, as a mentor, as a public figure, I'm not just telling you something that I can't relate to. And the world of money is wrapped up in our sense of worth. And for me, it's been a long, hard journey to understand how I can live authentically. And what I mean by that is that I don't let these stories drive my life and my decisions anymore. So there have been a lot of painful experiences that have happened in my life and a lot of beliefs that I've broken through. Because of that, I know I'm a better, stronger version of myself today more than ever. But let me tell you some things that happened financially for me that were wrapped up in my unworthiness conversation. One, because I had a belief and a fear ultimately that I would be exploited or used. It's a really weird thing that happens with us in our brains is that I didn't want those things, but I ended up attracting them anyway. So I had relationships around me that I allowed people to use me, even if consciously or unconsciously they didn't know that it happened, especially my relationships with men, not my current husband, but former men in my life. I've shared those stories on my podcast before. I also had relationships in business that were not healthy. And this year, I have the most healthy relationships in business than I've ever had. And over the course of different experiences that I've had in my life, I've attracted leaders around me, other people around me who didn't necessarily have my best intentions in mind. And I allowed that. That's where boundaries, when I talk about boundaries in relationship with money and relationship with our lives, that for me came full circle this year to create healthy, strong boundaries around my time, how I spend my time, how I spend and invest my money. And because I had the courage to look deep and to do the work, I've been able to eliminate a lot of let me think. This is me thinking. I have eliminated every toxic relationship out of my life as a result of the work that I've done this year. And as I look around me and reflect on the different relationships in business, in my personal life that I have today, I've got the most quality, healthy, happy, vibrant relationships. I have fewer, closer people in my life. And I know that going into next year, it's only a recipe to thrive. And I'm so, so excited for all of that. I've had to learn some really tough lessons. And I think ultimately that we all get to create opportunities in our lives to learn powerful lessons because that's where the growth comes from. That's where the magic comes from in us living our best lives. I realized in my marriage as a result of the work that I did this year that I was not as open, honest, and vulnerable as I could be. My husband gave me a lot of feedback. As much as he adores me and as much as I love him, he would give me feedback, babe, you don't cry, you don't connect. And I heard him and I didn't get what that meant until it all came full circle in one of my trainings this year, in my certification trainings this year. I raised my hand and I asked my trainer, I said, my husband's giving me this feedback and I don't know where it's coming from because I think that I'm a pretty vulnerable person. Like I share vulnerably. And she's like, all right, well, let's lean into this. Let's dig into this. And what started as a conversation of me not being vulnerable then started to dig deeper into understanding that it was my fear of losing control and looking stupid. And it was my fear of being taken advantage of and that it was not safe to feel out of control, that I wasn't able to let my guard down, let my walls down, and be very vulnerable with my husband. I've learned that this year. I've learned how to share deeper parts of myself, share when I'm feeling nervous or afraid, and also just share emotional things that have happened for me in my life. My grandmother passing away was a huge experience and journey for me in my life, and I didn't realize how much it impacted me. And because of my ability to dig deep, get coaching, lean in, peel back the layers of myself, I was able to grieve the passing of my grandmother. Even more profoundly, I was able to share that with my husband. And I know that those are things that he's wanted to know about me, even from things that happened in my childhood that I just bottled up. I bottled up, I tucked it inside, and I kept pushing through my life. It was causing me a lot of pain. And my ability to acknowledge that with him has deepened our relationship, deepened our marriage, deepened our friendship. And I'm so grateful that I had the courage to be able to, lean in and acknowledge certain parts about myself that weren't working. In business, I had some relationships that weren't working for me. And as a woman in business, I'm sure you can relate to this at some point in your course of business, if not today specifically, and maybe even in the future, this will be something that'll be valuable for you. I had around me people that I know wanted to be successful and wanted me to be successful, but together it was not a healthy combination. And because of that, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars pouring into people, and I wasn't seeing that return in my business. And it was causing me a lot of frustration. And I think in the relationship, it was causing a lot of frustration. I had people on my team that I didn't need to have on my team also, but it was through the thought that I had to have certain people on my team to be successful. I hired a personal assistant where I really didn't need one. But that relationship also was a big mirror for me to realize that I have a hero archetype about me where I want to save people. I think that comes from the fact that I myself wanted to be saved. I wanted someone to take care of me and protect me when I was a kid. And in the absence of that, I became that for other people. But that doesn't always work in business. I can't try to save people from themselves or from their lives. That's their work to do. That's your work to do. And when it comes to money, any aspect of our life, we have to be the people that step up for ourselves. And creating some of those patterns in my relationship wasn't working, and I had to break through it. Ultimately, I did. And I feel so much freer because of that. And I'm really glad that I had the courage to do that. I don't know what you were expecting for this podcast episode today. It's really important for me to be real, open, and honest with you. And so let's talk about finances specifically. I help women, I help people with their money in business and personally. And for me, as much as I've been able to create other success stories for women around me, for business owners around me in my own business, I've had highs and lows financially over the last few years. One thing that I've consistently done has been reinvested into my business. So this year I made $300,000, which I'm really, really proud of. It's super exciting because these are milestones in any business, and I got past the six-figure mark pretty fast. And then I've just kind of hung out between $100,000 and $250,000. And this year I've made $300,000, which I'm really excited about. On the flip side of that, I've reinvested every dollar as much as possible into my business to be able to grow, to be able to scale. And you're probably starting to see some of those efforts in the branding and in the different marketing that I'm doing and the social media that I'm doing, and in the way that the podcast is elevated this year, thanks to Creco Productions, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. So by reinvesting into my business, I haven't seen the profit margin that I've hoped to see or that I ultimately want to see in my business. I've invested over $60,000 this year alone in personal and professional development, not to mention on top of that, more marketing dollars to be able to grow my business. These are the real costs of doing business. And as much as I aspire to be a multi-billionaire, which I really do, I think that'd be really fun, I'm not there yet. And I think that's important for me to share that with you, that I'm not positioning myself to be anything other than where I am right here, right now. And I want you to be on this journey with me. So my goal next year is to create $1 million business by the reinvesting that I've done, the hiring that I've done, the shedding that I've done this year. I know I'm positioned for that now more than ever. And I need your support and feedback as a continued listener of the show. Let me know what's working for you, what's not working for you, what you like, what you don't like. I'm going to continue to take risks. That's who I am, and continue to share openly, honestly, and vulnerably with you about what's really going on, because success is a deeply personal journey. So whether or not you think I have X amount of money or not, for me is less important than me just sharing with you what's really going on and inspiring other people to come on this show and share for them what their truth is and what's really going on for them. So that's where I'm at this year, 2023. I've had a lot of successes. I've had some failures. I've had some challenges. I'm going to talk about some of the successes that I've had next, and reflecting on the mistakes. For me, they're all learnings. They're all learnings. The money that I invested that didn't work out, the money that I earned and was able to continue to reinvest into my business. I'm learning from all of those steps. Financially, it's a journey as much as it is anything. I'm loving the journey, and I hope that anything that I shared about this year, some of the learnings and mistakes, are benefiting you and hearing that I'm a real person. I've got real stuff going on, and I'm figuring it out along the way with everyone else. One mistake that I must highlight that I forgot about was the passport debacle. I have an episode about my trip to Alaska. For me, that was a dream come true. We still talk about that trip today. I'm so grateful that my family and I had the courage to book it, because the cheap chip in me would have probably waited years to take that trip. And it was such an amazing trip. But that debacle, that learning of the passport, was something that I think that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. I can laugh about it now, but it was a very costly mistake. And so you better believe that when we take our family to the Bahamas next Christmas, that our passports will be in good order. So that was just a huge lesson for me. And something hopefully that you never have to go through, because you listen to this podcast and you learn from it too. Make sure you renew your passports on time. Okay, so let's talk about some wins. Honest, open, trusting, vulnerable. I learned this year, in my 44th year of life, more than ever, how to be an honest, open, trusting, and vulnerable person. Ever since I started my business, I've been pretty vulnerable about my journey through my divorce. When I wrote my first book, I talked a lot about my divorce. I'm going to continue to take risks and be that person on this podcast, which I hope also inspires other podcast guests. I've had some amazing podcast guests this year. Some of them have shared very vulnerably about things that have happened for them. And I believe that's what makes this podcast different than other podcasts. We're not just here to talk about the success. We're here to talk about all of the in-betweens. Getting my certification this year was a huge success of mine. It's been something that's been on my list for years, and I'm so grateful I had the courage to finally get my certifications. It was a long journey. I'm ready for a long nap this holiday after everything winds down. I'm going to take about 10 days off, and I'm going to get some sleep, and I'm going to really celebrate in the journey this year, so that next year I can come back fresh and on fire for everything that we're going to create as a brand and for you. What I'm really, really happy about this year is the team that I've built around me. No one builds a business alone. And for me, I've had a ton of relationships that have worked out and a ton that have not. First and foremost, I want to thank Creco Productions. She's behind the camera as we speak. You've seen her in and out, maybe on social media with me, but Cree has been with me for, it feels like, since day one. And I think for the most part, once I started doing video and editing, Cree and Creco Productions has been right here along with me every step along the way. We were able to, from her vision, do some Spark Women's retreats. I was able to bring women up to Spark Retreat. To this day, those retreats are a highlight for my life, not just my career, for my life. The friendship that I have with Cree and Creco Productions is something that I hope everyone in business has the ability to have, which are trustworthy people who have your back, who believe in you, and who are there for you. And Cree has been a part of a lot of breakdowns for me, and she's also been there for me to build me right back up. So Cree, thank you to you and to everything that you and your team have done for me this year. And I'm so excited to have a kick-ass year next year and beyond, and to continue to grow together. Another relationship that I want to celebrate is with To Market Media. I've had in my brain that I wanted to be this influencer, and I don't think anybody ever knows how this stuff is going to come together. But from when I started my podcast to when I wrote my book, I said, I'm going to be on a stage someday talking about money for women. And I've had to see that vision through the highs and lows. I've attracted some really amazing relationships. And this one, in a lot of ways, came out of the blue. But I also know that had I not had that dream, that vision, I wouldn't have recognized it when the call came in. I established a relationship with To Market Media this year. Steve Carlos, thank you to you. Hank Norman, thank you to you. And everyone, Savannah, Mike, Kristen, everyone, Stephanie. Shout out to Stephanie, everyone, Cree behind the scenes is saying that. Shout out to everyone who has really rolled up their sleeves with me to help this brand take off. It would not be possible without you. And for all of you at To Market Media, thank you so much for your belief in me. I know this is just the beginning for all of us, and I would not be where I am without you today. Personally, of course, to my kids, Connor and Range, it has been a wild couple of years for all of us. Range's birth mom passed away 2 years ago on Christmas Day. And if you can imagine for an 11-year-old boy what that would be like, it has been filled with highs and lows as a family. And we have come together more strongly than ever. being there for Range, being there for my husband, Jimmy, through that grieving process has been wildly difficult. Holding space for them as we all as a family heal from that has brought us closer together as a family. Growing a business alone is stressful. Navigating an experience like that with my now adopted son, Range, and my family has been really challenging. And also, it's made us stronger. And so, to Range, thank you for your trust and belief in me. Jimmy, thank you for your trust and belief in me. And for Connor, my 15-year-old, thanks for being there with us. We've needed your strength more than you've known. So we've had a lot happen this holiday season. We've had a lot happen in our lives. And I know that just as much as things happen for me, they do for you too. And so I want to thank you as a viewer and a listener of this podcast, because I would not be where I am today without your full faith in me. My clients on a daily basis give me breath. They inspire me to get out of bed and keep going for it. So for you as a client, if you're a client listening to this, thank you for your trust and faith in me. Thank you for being there for me as much as I am for you. We are going to build better, stronger businesses together, and from all of the learnings that we've had cumulatively. As a listener, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this podcast out. I get feedback from many of you frequently about the conversations that we're having and how meaningful they are for you. I have a goal for next year for this to be even bigger, stronger conversation in America and around the world. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sharing. Oh, another shout out. Stacey O'Byrne and Amber Furman. Stacey, your vision and tenacity to transform the world and do the work that you do is inspiring. And I am the woman that I am today because of the courage that you've had to build the trainings, build the certifications, and teach us how to walk to our edges so that we can then bring ourselves back and build ourselves back up. The trainer certification program was world-class. I have never been a part of a program that has been so profound and so meaningful in such a deep way. Thank you for providing the work that you do and the opportunities for us to get to know ourselves, to live the lives that we want to live. And Amber, as my coach this year, thank you for the love. You've heard me say that over and over again. You know, for coaches, sometimes we think that coaches, what we need from them is accountability and to be hard asses and to call us out. And I have had those kinds of coaches in my life, but the most profound coaching experience that I've had so far to date is with you. And ultimately, it's from your love, which is what I needed most. So that's just a reminder for all the coaches out there. Love is the superpower. Love is the secret ingredient to life. And Amber, thank you for showing me the way on that. Okay, so let's talk about 2024. I'm so excited for this year. It's 2024. I'm 44. 4 is a magical number in my world. And looking at being in the middle of my 40s, I am on fire for life. I'm on fire for my business. You heard at the beginning of the show all the learnings and different learning curves that I've been through to get where I am today. I by no means am perfect. And I know next year is going to be filled with other highs and lows. I am so grateful though, because I believe with this team, this time, there's nowhere to go but up. I truly believe that. I've had my fill of lows. I'm done with that. It's nowhere but up. But here's the thing. It's nowhere but up for women on the planet today. That is why I do this work. You are why I do this work, because for me as a woman, it's so important that I get to live out my dreams and that there's no one to tell me no, that I can't do it, and that there's no financial circumstance that prevents me from having what it is that I want in my life. Like I said, success is very individual. It doesn't matter what I think about your success. What matters is what you think about your success. And now more than ever, the world needs women to step up and lead the financial conversations of this planet from a heart-centered way. I just posted a Will Ferrell video on my Instagram account. I love Will Ferrell. He's just the best. But he said, women, isn't it time for women to lead? Men have been doing this for the last however long, 10,000s of years, and they've gotten us this far. It's our turn to jump into the fire of leadership, financially and everywhere else, in politics, in business, on the planet, so that everyone has an opportunity to live their successful lives, however they define that for them. I am tired of women hurting. I am tired of women and children losing on this planet. That's not to say that men don't, but in the wake of war, the ones that we've seen in 2023 and before, we've got to figure this out together. I'm in the conversation. I'm inviting you to join me in the conversation that whoever we need to be together to take this planet to a healthier, more connected level, I'm in. And I'm going to invite you to play along with me. So those are the conversations that I'll be having right here with Real Money. How do we figure this out? We figure it out together. We have conversations with men and women together. We talk about healthy financial relationships, a healthy planet, healthy families. And I know that we can do it when we come together with love. That's my vision for 2024. That's my vision for my brand moving forward. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to continue this conversation worldwide. Continue to join me, follow me, and let me know what's working for you, what you want to hear more about, what you want to learn from. And I'll continue to bring on amazing guests next year and beyond. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, watching this episode of Real Money. Shout out to Creco Productions. Thank you so much for all of your support as we continue to grow and thrive together. I cannot wait for next year. Keep an eye out for next year's first episode, which is going to be amazing. And you can find me at lisachastain.com. Give us some feedback, and I cannot wait to see you next year. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Have the courage to ask yourself what's next for you in your life, and we'll see you in the new year.